The movie begins with Greta Evans arriving at a secluded manor in a classic British cab. She has dozed off during the ride and the cab driver taps on the window to wake her up. She steps out of the cab and marvels at the house. The cab driver informs her that he has already brought her luggage inside while she was sleeping. He tells her to wait in the parlor and then leaves in the cab. Greta enters the house and decides to take off her shoes before going further. She leaves them by the door and shouts hello. The parlor is empty and no one comes to welcome her, but she hears some noise upstairs. She cautiously climbs up a few steps and shouts again. On the wall there is a huge painting of the Heelshires, a very noble family. She doesn't hear anyone, so she explores a room full of old toys. She laughs at one of them, but then jumps when she hears a sound behind her. It's Malcolm, the grocery boy who delivers produce to the Heelshires every week. He is at the door. They greet each other and he asks for her help to put away the groceries. They talk and he seems to like Greta, but she is just friendly. She tells him that she's an American who came to the UK for the first time to work for the Heelshires. Malcolm says his grandma can read tea leaves and his mother can read palms. When Greta asks him what he can read, and he says with gum. Playing along, she gives him her chewed gum. He makes a poor reading that doesn't impress her much. He tries again with another one, saying that she is escaping from a bad past. This clearly bothers Greta, who closes up. He tries to joke, but Greta changes the subject and asks him about the Heelshires, who are still nowhere to be seen. He tells her they are kind and generous. He begins to mention Brahms, but Mrs. Heelshire interrupts him. She gives Greta a cold look and sees her bare feet. Greta says she put her shoes by the door and runs to get them, not wanting to upset Mrs. Heelshire. She can't find her shoes. Mrs. Heelshire says it's Brahms' prank and tells Greta to wear another pair of shoes. She says they will meet the rest of the family soon. She hopes Greta will stay because they have had trouble with other nannies before. She says Greta is younger and prettier than the others, so maybe Brahms will like her. They hear Mr. Heelshire whispering to Brahms to be good. When Mr. Heelshire gets up, Greta sees that Brahms is a porcelain doll that looks very real. She meets Brahms and laughs, thinking it's a prank, but she sees that Mr. and Mrs. Heelshire are very serious. Malcolm helps her out and tells the Heelshires that he has put away their food and he will come back next week. He shakes the doll's hand and says goodbye to Brahms. Mrs. Heelshire looks happy. Malcolm goes, but he gives Greta a look that says just go along with it. Greta smiles and holds the doll's arm. She says she hopes they will be friends. Mrs. Heelshire says that Brahms loves music. She cuddles the doll, which makes Greta uncomfortable. Mrs. Heelshire plays a loud opera record. In the bedroom, Mrs. Heelshire tells her that Greta has to wake up Brahms at 7 a.m. every day and dress him. Mrs. Heelshire shows Greta the kitchen and tells her they never throw away leftovers. They have a special fridge-like container. Mr. Heelshire takes her outside and tells her about the traps they have for vermin. He says Mrs. Heelshire is afraid of rats in the walls, but he doesn't think it's necessary. He also says all the windows are stuck, as if by accident, but it sounds suspicious. He ends the walk with a serious talk with Greta and tells her things are not as they seem. He tries to make her feel better. The family tucks Brahms in. Greta watches from the door as the Heelshires pray. Mrs. Heelshire asks Greta to leave them alone. Mr. Heelshire closes the door on her. She hears them talking softly for a minute before the door opens again. Mrs. Heelshire tells her with a shaky smile, Brahms has picked you. In her room, Greta calls Sandy, maybe a friend or sister, from home. She tells her about the creepy situation. Sandy agrees that it's weird, but tells her to stay because Greta needs a fresh start. Then Sandy says that Cole came by her house again looking for Greta. Gets scared, but Sandy says she didn't tell him anything. He is someone from Greta's bad past. The next day, Mr. Heelshire tells her he and his wife are going on a trip that they have wanted for a long time, but they couldn't leave Brahms alone. They tell Greta it is very important that you follow these rules. They give Greta a list of activities to do with Brahms every day and the rules to follow. Some of them are no guests, don't cover his face, keep leftovers in freezer, dress him every morning, help him with studies, don't cover his face, read him a story, play music loud, don't leave him alone, clean the traps, don't forget to feed him, and good night kiss. Before they leave, Mrs. Heelshire hugs Greta and cries, whispering to her, I'm sorry. As soon as they are gone, Greta puts Brahms on a chair and says sorry before throwing a blanket over him. Greta makes a sandwich with peanut butter and jelly and drinks some wine. She puts the food scraps in the trash. She reads some magazines in the parlor. It rains hard outside. She walks by the doll with a blanket on it a few times. When she gets more wine, she goes upstairs to sleep and looks at the doll, but this time the blanket is gone. She feels uneasy and annoyed at herself, puts the doll back in the bedroom and locks it. Greta sleeps, but wakes up when she hears a child crying. She takes a candle and goes downstairs to check. She stops to look at the painting and focuses on Brahms's human face. She gets closer when an arm grabs her. Greta wakes up. It was a dream. She hears the crying sound again. She looks in the Brahms bedroom and the doll is there. She gets closer and sees the doll's cheek is wet, like tears. Greta is scared but sees water dripping on it from a leak in the ceiling. She laughs it off. She sees an attic in the ceiling when she goes out in the hall and tries to open it with a big fire poker thing on the wall, but can't get the latch down. There's a knock on the door and she leaves it. Malcolm giving Greta her first week's pay in an envelope. She tells him he should have told her about the doll, but he says he doesn't know how to say it. They walk outside around the house, and Malcolm shows her Brahms' real grave. He lived from 1983 to 1991. Malcolm says no one knows much, but Brahms died in a fire on his 8th birthday. After that, the doll appeared and Mr. and Mrs. Heelshire have been caring for the doll ever since. Greta feels sorry and says that Brahms would be Malcolm's age if he lived. She says she can't believe that Mr. and Mrs. Heelshire have been living like this for 20 years. During all this, it seems like someone is watching them from the house. Malcolm asks her to go out of the house tonight to have some fun. Greta is not sure, saying she just left a thing, coal, but Malcolm convinces her. She agrees and they say goodbye to meet later. Later, Greta starts get ready, picking out clothing while talking to Sandy on phone. Sandy is glad she's moving on and tells her she needs this chance. Greta is excited about going out. She puts a coral dress and a necklace in the bathroom and goes to shower. While she showers, something takes the dress and the necklace. Greta gets out, wraps a towel around her and looks in the mirror. She sees that one end of her hair is a little messed up. Before she can freak out too much, she sees that her things are gone. She runs into her bedroom and sees all her drawers open and all her clothes gone. She hears something and turns around. The attic is open and the stairs are down. She takes the fire poker thing on the wall and goes up, holding her towel. As soon as she goes up, the ladder goes up and the attic closes. She can't open it. She hears Malcolm's car and tries to get his attention, but he can't hear her because she is too high up. She tries to make noise by hitting the iron poker on the walls, but it's too quiet for him to hear. She can barely see him through the thick wood. Every window is covered or shut. She keeps trying until he goes. She looks around a little in the dark and a figure scares her. She falls back and knocks herself out. In the morning, Greta wakes up. She sees that the figure was just a suit hanging on the wall. She also sees that the ladder is down and the door open. She asks Malcolm to come over and check the house. He looks at the attic stairs, and they snap up and close when he touches them. He thinks that's how she got stuck up there. They spend some time together and play some pool. They go to the study to talk, and she asks him more about Brahms. But Malcolm is not very comfortable and tells her that there are different stories and the truth is somewhere in the middle. The nice version is that Brahms was a good boy. The bad version is that Brahms was very strange. Malcolm tells her about how he came over once on Brahms' birthday. Mrs. Heelshire was opening presents with a Brahms doll while Mr. Heelshire was in the study drinking a lot. Malcolm was leaving when Mr. Heelshire asked him to stay with him. Mr. Heelshire was saying that he couldn't live like this anymore, the doll thing. Malcolm took the opportunity to ask what Brahms, the actual Brahms, was like, and Mr. Heelshire just replied with, odd. Malcolm wants her to leave again, but Greta tells him she is fine. He leaves for the night, and she goes to bed. She calls Sandy also mentions Cole again, and how persistent he is being. Sandy reveals that Cole asks Sandy's 10-year-old son where Greta is so he can write and apologize, and her kid told Cole where Greta is in the UK. Sandy apologizes, but Greta assures her she will not read anything from Cole. The next day, she does the thing she has to do and sees the doll in bed where she left it. The list of things she has to do every day with Brahms is next to it. The phone rings and when she answers, she hears him breathing. This time there's a small voice, like a child, saying her name and asking her to play. She starts crying and yelling, asking who this is. She hears footsteps and runs to her room and locks it. From the floor, we see the porcelain feet walking. Greta watches in horror as she hears Brahms asking her to come out. She sees something being put down, and after a while goes out and sees it is a tray with a PG sandwich. She picks it up and laughs, cries crazily. She looks at Brahms' open room where the doll is on the bed looking at her. She goes to the door and stares at it, and then looks at the list, knowing what Brahms wants. She takes care of Brahms for the next few days. She talks to him and makes food for him, putting it in the container as instructed. She plays his music and follows the list. We see the Heelshires on their trip. Mrs. Heelshire writes a note to Brahms, saying sorry for leaving him. At the end of the note, it says the girl is yours now. They go to a coast, picking up rocks and putting them in their pockets. They walk, holding hands into the water. It is clear that Heelshire couple committing suicide. One day, Malcolm comes over earlier than usual to bring the food and check on her. He sees the doll sitting at the table with her. He asks her out again, and Greta looks at the doll, thinking she better not. Malcolm plays along and asks Brahms' hand, and asks to take Greta out, pretending Brahms says yes. Greta just looks and is not happy. She then starts to tell him that Brahms is really here. Malcolm doesn't believe her, and she takes him upstairs. Greta has been trying something. She puts the doll in a sitting position on the floor in Brahms' room. She erases her old lines. She draws a line around the doll. They go back to her room, and Malcolm still thinks it's crazy. She says she got the idea from when he said that Brahms in real life was very shy, so the doll only moves when no one is looking. They wait a bit. Greta knocks on the wall, and they go back to Brahms' room. The doll is the same as she left it. Malcolm tells her it's okay. He believes her. Greta wants to try one more time. She hugs the doll and tells him that she needs Malcolm to see it, so she won't be alone. She also says that she will have to leave if he doesn't move, and that she needs Brahms to do this for her. They go back to her room, and when they go back, the doll is gone. Malcolm is shocked. Greta is happy that someone else sees this, and that she's not crazy. She hugs him, and they almost kiss when she sees Brahms looking at them from behind the door. She picks up Brahms and thanks him for doing it. Greta and Malcolm walk outside and talk. They think it must be a ghost in the doll. Malcolm is still a bit scared, but Greta says she understands the Heelshires better. She tells him about her past and her long relationship with Cole, who was sometimes violent. She got pregnant but lost her baby when Cole hit her, so she can relate to the Heelshires because they lost a baby too. Malcolm comforts her and they kiss. They go back to her room. They start kissing and lie down on the bed, ready to make love. We see something watching them through the keyhole, and before things get too far, they hear music from another room. They go downstairs and find the doll in the study. Greta thinks he is not happy and puts him back to bed. Malcolm is worried. He tells Greta something he didn't tell her before because he didn't want to scare her. There was a girl who played with Brahms every week. On the day he died, the girl disappeared while they were playing. After that, the house burned down and Brahms died. They later found the girl's body in the woods, her head smashed. Malcolm doesn't know if the doll has a good ghost in it. Greta trusts Brahms. She asks Malcolm to go home for now, remember the no guest rule. While Greta puts Brahms to bed, she whispers, "You wouldn't hurt me, would you, Brahms?" The next morning, Greta is making breakfast when she hears the pool balls hitting in the study. She picks up Brahms and goes there thinking it's Malcolm. It's Cole. Greta tells him he can't be here. He says he just wants to say hi to the kid. Greta holds Brahms close to her, and Cole sees it's a doll and laughs. Greta says they pay her to take care of a doll. She makes dinner and puts Brahms at the table with them. Cole talks about how he found her a job back home. He keeps getting distracted by the doll's stare. Malcolm and Cole have a tense confrontation. Malcolm pulls her away by asking her to help with the groceries. They talk about Cole, who should not be here, as he will hurt her. Greta says that won't happen and tells him she will handle it. Malcolm says goodbye to Cole coldly and leaves. He doesn't leave, but parks outside and watches. Greta brings blankets and pillows for him, which Cole thinks means he won't sleep with her. Before she leaves, Cole grabs her painfully and tells her he won't let her go again. He wants her packed by the morning and that they are leaving. Greta cries and leaves. Greta puts Brahms to bed, hugging him. She whispers sadly that she needs his help before she goes to bed and sleeps. Cole wakes up in the night to blood dripping on his head. He wakes up and shouts for Greta. She comes downstairs and sees a lot of dead rats from the traps and a bloody message on the walls that says, "Get out." Cole thinks Greta did it, which she strongly denies. They then see the doll in the corner and she runs to him saying, "Brahms, what did you do?" Cole is mad and takes the doll. Greta changes her mind and tries to tell Cole it was her. Cole thinks the doll had something to do with it because he was creeped out by it from the start. Malcolm hears the noise and runs in to see what is happening. He sees Cole holding the doll. Greta is panicking, and they both try to get the doll from Cole. Cole smashes the doll on the ground on purpose. breaking it into pieces. Right away, the walls start shaking and the house starts groaning. They all start to panic. Malcolm wants to leave, but Cole tells him to be quiet. Cole listens to a mirror on the wall, following the noise as it stops. Suddenly, the mirror breaks and something comes out of the walls. It is a big figure with a porcelain mask on his face. Malcolm thinks it must be Brahms, who survived the fire, but Greta can't believe it. Brahms goes for Cole on the ground. Malcolm and Greta try to stop him, but Brahms pushes them away and stabs Cole in the neck with a piece from the broken doll. Brahms tries to drag Greta away, but Malcolm hits him and gets Greta up and they run away. Greta and Malcolm run to the front door, but Brahms blocks them. He knows faster ways to get to where they want to go. They hide in her room and lock the door. Brahms stands at the door. Greta finds a panel in the wall, and they both go through a passage in the walls. Greta finds some stairs that go up to a small room near the attic. It is old and has a fridge and a rough place to live. There's a big figure on the bed that is a fabric doll wearing Greta's coral dress that was missing, along with her jewelry and her hair on the head. We now understand the truth, which is that Brahms is alive. He is crazy, maybe even before he killed the girl. He has been living in the walls for 20 years, and Mr. and Mrs. Heelshire have been helping him to keep their son. They used to talk to him through the doll. Greta finds the letter from Mrs. Heelshire and realizes that they were leaving her to take care of him forever. She is very upset, realizing the adult Brahms was watching her every move, while Malcolm tries to find another way out. He finds one and tells Greta to go first while Brahms breaks through. There's a part where they have to crawl, but there's a hatch that leads outside. Brahms follows them, holding a bigger piece in his hand, and Malcolm tells Greta to go on. Greta doesn't want to leave him, but he runs at Brahms to fight him. Brahms is huge and beats Malcolm. He hits his head hard, and Malcolm passes out. Brahms goes towards Greta, telling her in a small child voice to stay. She finally opens it and jumps through. Brahms can't catch up because he has to crawl and yells after her. Now in a more adult voice he says to come back, and that if she doesn't stay, he will finish off Malcolm and kill him like he did everyone else. Greta runs to the gates, but then stops and turns back. She wants to face her abuser and save Malcolm. She goes to the door and takes a long letter opener she sees. She goes to where Cole's dead body is and sees Brahms standing there. He has a mask that covers his face, except his eyes and some facial hair around it. Greta tells Brahms she said she would come back and never leave, so she is keeping her promise. Brahms reaches for her, and Greta stops him with her nanny voice, telling Brahms it's time for bed. He listens to her and follows her. She puts him in bed and he whispers, "Kiss," but she says no kiss as his punishment. She pulls away and he grabs her and says, "Kiss again," more strongly. She kisses the porcelain mask and Brahms tries to pull her closer. She takes the letter opener and stabs Brahms in the stomach. He pushes her away and hits her on the wall. He starts to choke her and Greta almost blacks out, but she manages to push the letter opener in more. Brahms falls, and Greta runs past him to the hidden passages to see if Malcolm is okay. Part of Brahms' mask is broken, and we see the burned skin under it. Malcolm is alive and wakes up with some bruises on his face. She gets him out of there, and they drive away from Heelshire Manor. The last shot shows someone painstakingly piecing the doll back together. Brahms is still alive, maybe. He then looks at the camera, whole, as if nothing ever happened. Hey movie lovers, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed my recap and analysis of this amazing film. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more movie recaps. Make sure you turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of them. Also, leave me a comment below and tell me what you think of this film and what movie you want me to recap next. I love hearing from you and your opinions. That's it for today. See you in the next video.